Good morning! It is morning, and today is a beautiful day, even though it's October. It's actually quite warm for Denmark. So I decided to do some horsehair raku. I have a number of pots that I have already bisfired. They have been applied with the thermometer, my new thermometer, the super white thermometer. It's shiny and super white. It's perfect for horsehair raku. But I will, as usual, do things with a little bit of a twist. So I hope you will join me and on this beautiful day. Welcome. I'm starting out with just these 3 pots. They're not too big, they're easy to handle, and I just want to see how well it goes. Also, before I start, I make sure that I have a tongue that works well for these. And this one I tested. I like to grab them from the inside, so don't make any scratches on the outside. And this one is good for these pots. So now I'm ready to fire it. When you light your burner, always do it outside the kiln, because if you put it in there and you start the gas and you light it, maybe you fail a few times, then you're going to fill up the drum with gas, and there's a risk that everything will explode if you do that. So always light it on the outside, and then when it's when there's a flame on, you can put it into your drum. We're going to start out with the lowest possible pressure on the gas. We don't want to heat it up too quickly. The first couple 100 degrees, just take it slow, and then we can increase the pressure and the speed of the heat. We want to reach about 750, 800 degrees for the horsehair raku. Now keep in mind there's no glaze, so there's nothing that needs to be melted. We just need to heat the pot basically warm enough for the horsehair to fume on the pot. Actually, the temperature for the horsehair fuming is about 500 degrees Celsius, but it will cool down a little bit from the time you take it out of the pot until we actually apply the horsehair. I will also apply something else, which will require a little less temperature, so that will be applied in the end. I'll show you when we get to that. The clay that I'm using for the horsehair raku, and raku in general, if I can get away with it, is a clay called Hanna. It is created by the ceramic artist Hanna, and I buy it from Scarva in Ireland. I don't know where else you can buy it. It's a very, very high grout clay. It's actually 58%, but it's different sizes of molekite. And so you can actually get it pretty smooth considering all that grout. And it's very white, which I like too. But because of that high grout, it can sustain almost anything in terms of thermal shock. I've literally taken it out of 1,000 degrees Celsius kiln, dumped it into ice cold water, and it survives. That takes a special clay. And for what we're doing today, we're pulling it out and we put it in the air, and it's, I mean, even though it's a good weather today, it is sort of cold. So it has to be clay that can sustain that. Some normal stoneware can do that, some don't, but try and experiment with it. But the Hanna clay, in my experience, works every time. It never cracks. I hope it won't. So right now the temperature is rising. It's going well, and as I said, it's not a high temperature we need. We just need 750, 800 degrees, and then I will pull it. So let's see how that goes. These are the tools that I will use for the horsehair raku. Of course, I have some horsehair. As you can see, some of it is whitish and some of it is dark. It doesn't matter at all, because it's only a question of the carbon that fumes when you burn it on the pot. So it doesn't matter with the color. I have some sawdust because I want to sprinkle a little bit of sawdust at the bottom to create a little bit of a dark area. Have some sugar. You can sprinkle some sugar on right when you take it out. It needs to be a high temperature. And then I got this. This is ferric chloride. And I'm going to spray some of that on the pot. This can create really beautiful colors ranging from dark red when it's a high temperature, 500-600 degrees Celsius, onto very light and beautiful yellow when it's colder, 150, 100, 200 degrees Celsius. But one thing that's very important is when you spray ferric chloride on a hot pot, it will create fumes. And those fumes contain chloride and acid gases and terrible things. So you need good protection for this. This is something I got from a local security company, and I asked them specifically for something that could protect me against these kind of fumes. So this is the right kind of protection to use. I do it also outside, which means that the fumes are not very concentrated, but still you don't want to get that into your lungs. I also have this. It's a laser-based thermometer. You point it and then you read the temperature. And that's really nice because, especially with the ferric chloride, we want to reach a specific temperature to get different colors, but also for the horsehair. But I mean, with the horsehair, if it's too warm, it just burns off and doesn't leave any traces. So then you just wait a few minutes. It's not so difficult to measure. But with the ferric chloride, it's nice to see the actual temperature. So these are my tools. I'm just waiting for the pot to get warm enough. The temperature is slowly climbing. It's going really well today, and reached 600 degrees now. We want to get it up a couple of hundred degrees more. 750, 800, probably 800, because I have 3 pots in there. I don't want it to cool too much before I pull the last one.
So now I'm ready to do fuming with ferric chloride.
You can probably not hear much of what I'm saying, but this is the sort of protection you need when you want to fume ferric chloride, because you don't want the chloride gases, acid gases, or whatever comes out of it into your lungs. Protect yourself and be safe. When applying the horsehair, there are different ways you can do it. I like to put it on a hand wheel like this. It's easy to turn it around, also for the ferric chloride fuming. But I mean, when some people also like to put it on a bed, so you put the horsehairs and you put the pot down. What I like about the upstanding way is that the fumes go up, and I like the way that what it does to a pot. But the other method is good as well. Now we are almost reaching 800 degrees, so unlike what I do when I glaze fire in the Raku kiln, I will not completely turn off the burner, because I have 3 pots in there, remember, and I'm gonna pull them one at a time. So I want to keep the flame going, not super high pressure, but still enough to keep them warm. So the next ones are warm as well. So let's go and see if it's ready. And as always, when you're working with really hot elements, wear some protection gloves. You can buy them in pottery stores, very expensive. I buy mine as welding gloves. They're very good and they're very cheap. I think I paid like $10 for these or something. So go do that. So when we take the temperature now, it's 555 something. So I mean, we can try and apply a little bit of the sawdust down there. As you see, it creates a little bit of fuming. I don't want it too much. And we can also apply some sugar. Not too much, but it makes these beautiful spots. Now we can take some of the horsehair and see if it's cold enough. Looks good. I try to just get, like 1 or 2 hairs at a time. And it does smell. It smells like burnt hair. But it's not too bad. We're outside, so it's okay. So I think that's actually enough. I don't usually want it to be too much. And now I have to put on my gear. Because we want to do a little bit of so now it's actually quite dark, so I want to let it cool down a little bit more. I want to let it cool down a little bit more before I apply more of the Ferric Chloride. I'm going to move this to a different location and just to let it cool a little bit more. And then I will take the next one. Again, I use a little bit of the sawdust, not too much. And a little bit of the sugar. Yes. Now let's see if you apply the horsehair too early, as I mentioned, it will just burn away and it won't leave any traces. So there's no danger in trying it out. This looks good. And of course, be careful not to touch the pot because it is very warm. And some of it didn't burn off well enough. You can use a gas burner and sort of burn it into the pot. Just be careful not to heat too much at one spot, because that could create some thermal shocks that even this clay wouldn't sustain.
Now I want to add a little bit of the Ferric.
And for this I'm also going to add a little bit of sawdust inside, because I want to see if I can create a little more of a black fuming in there. And I also want to try just a little bit of the newspaper and see if that helps. That can create some smoke inside and make it darker, and I like that. So again, we're going to put this aside. And now we can turn off the burner, because we're pulling the last part. For this one I'm going to try the white horsehair, just so you can see that there's really not that much of a difference. It's a bit too much. You see, it's not really the color of the hair, but it's the fuming that it creates, the carbon. now I want to check how cold the first vase is that I've cooled. And that's about 150 degrees, which is perfect for the next stage of the ferric chloride, because then it's going to turn much more yellowish.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's a completely different color. And I really love that. So, I think this one is done.
I think this one is done now, and it just needs to cool down completely.
I don't know if you can see the temperature here, but it's still 230 at the top, and it's still,
The more close the form is, the longer it takes to cool, so it's going to let it stay a little more. If it's not dark enough on the inside, you can still add some more paper or sawdust or something and light it, and it will create more darkness. I think it's the same thing with this one. It is dark, but I would like it to be a little more dark. Just again, be careful not to burn too long at one spot, because that could create some thermal tension. Now it's 185, 200. I still want to let it cool a little bit more. The colder it is, the more yellow. and I want the last part of it to be bright yellow. Now, of course, the pots have to be cleaned because there's the leftover of the horsehair, and of course the inside dust that we need to get rid of, the ashes. Yeah. On this one particularly, you can see it, all these little leftovers of the horsehair. We're going to remove that, so the only thing left is the traces of the fumes that the horsehair left. Now the temperature is 135 or something in the top, 150, 60 in the middle, and 140 at the bottom. So I think it's about time. So that was the first batch, the first 3 ones. I have 5, 6 more, so I'll go right ahead and start heating up the next batch. So for this one, I'm going to apply the Ferric Chloride a little bit different. I'm going to use this to kind of shield it, because I only want the top to be dark. So let's try that. So, I mean, it doesn't shield it completely, but it does give me more of an edge there, and it doesn't go down as much on the pot, which is what I like on this one. This pot is a semi-open, so it's not super tight at the top, but still, you see, 123 at the bottom, 80, 90 at the top. So that should be perfect for this. It's always interesting to see how the heat, how it cools down. At the bottom it's 190 at the bottom, 100, 150. And then it becomes a little bit warmer here. And cold, of course, colder at the top. Very interesting to see. This is still way too hot. It's 220 or something, and to get it super yellow, light yellow, it needs to be below 130, 120 or something. Some people have asked me if this fuming, the ferric chloride, if it will stick to the pot just as well as other kind of colorants, and it does. Once it's fumed into the porous clay, it will stay there just as well as any other colorants that we used in Raku and Pitfire. I do polish them. I use a wax or acrylic spray, or you can use different things, but that's also going to help preserve the colors. Keep in mind that Raku and Pitfire is sort of organic in a way that it does change over time. A Raku pot, no matter if it's glazed or fumed like this, or if it's a Pitfire pot, it will change over time. In 50 years, it will look different. Especially if you put it in the window in the sun, it will change faster. There's oxidation, there's the sun and the weather and stuff. So in that way, it's different than things with glaze, because that's going to be very persistent. Probably going to be exactly the same way in 1,000 years. That's not the case with Raku and Pitfire. And I think there's some sort of artistic beauty in that, if you like it. But you've got to be aware of that, especially if you sell your pieces. I think you should inform the buyers that this is a live organic product. It won't stay exactly the same. All in all, I'm very happy with this Horsehair Raku fire. I think the results are beautiful, and it was a fun day. It usually is when you do this. I did apply Ferric Chloride to all the pots. You don't have to do that. Some people prefer the more graphical white surface with the black horsehair. You can also apply a colored tessiculata as a background to the horsehair, or a colored slip and some tessiculata on top of that. I mean, there's endless possibilities. I just liked this toned Ferric Chloride. So that's what I did for all the pots today. I will, in the end of this video, feature some studio photos of all the pots I did, so you can better see the result of it. If you like this video, please subscribe, share, comment, whatever you like. I'll try and reply to all the comments that are there. And I hope to see you soon again.